4 out of 5 public housing residents were without heat at some point since October, the City Council revealed on Tuesday at a dramatic and bruising hearing about widespread heating failures at the New York City Housing Authority. "Just apologize," the frustrated City Council Speaker, Corey Johnson, told the Housing Authority Chairwoman, Shola Alatoy. "Just say, we are sorry that it's gotten to this point." Ms. Alatoy answered by saying that she acknowledged the stories of suffering provided by several public housing residents who started the hearing speaking about living without heat, but she did not give a direct apology. "The performance and the interruptions in service were unacceptable," she said. "The hearing was remarkable, in part, because it showcased a newly aggressive and adversarial council flexing its muscle." Mr. Johnson was elected as Speaker in January, vowing to make the council more independent from Mayor Bill de Blasio, who is starting his second term. Ms. Alatoy and other city officials spent 4 hours being grilled by council members. The hearing lasted several hours more, to take testimony from residents and others. Housing Authority residents in the audience were asked not to interrupt the proceedings, and they frequently waved their hands over their heads in a show of support for pointed questions or comments by council members. Yet there were occasional outbursts at remarks by the authority officials who testified. "That's a lie," one woman called out. "No one wants to take responsibility," said another. Richie Torres, the chairman of the council's Oversight and Investigations Committee, said that he had obtained data from the Housing Authority showing that during the current heating season, 323,098 residents had gone without heat at some time. That is more than 80% of the Housing Authority's residents. Housing officials said that those numbers covered the period from October 1 to January 22, and involved 143,000 apartments. The average heat outage lasted 48 hours. "You saw a huge increase in the duration of the outages due to the extreme cold spell, which compromised our aging infrastructure," said Kathy Pennington, the authority's acting executive vice president for operations. Mr. Torres had several testy exchanges with Ms. Alatoy, who has had strained relations with the council since it was revealed last year that the authority had failed for years to conduct required lead tests in apartments. "NICA has a chairperson whose credibility has sustained irreparable damage," Mr. Torres said. "She has haplessly presided over a humanitarian crisis." He also seemed to blame the mayor for NICA's problems, although not by name. "The administration and NICA can rightly fault the federal government for defunding public housing, but it cannot fault the federal government for the people it hires and the people it fails to hold accountable," Mr. Torres said. In another extraordinary exchange, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Torres clashed with the Corporation Counsel, Zachary W. Carter, who intervened as they were pressing Ms. Alatoy about a false statement she made to the council in December regarding the training of lead paint inspectors. Mr. Carter even objected to being sworn in, as other witnesses had been. "I'm not testifying," he said. "I'm here advising." But Mr. Torres insisted on swearing him in anyway. Mr. Carter said that Ms. Alatoy was given incorrect information by her staff in December, when she told the council that the Housing Authority's lead inspectors had the proper federal certification when they did not. He said it was a mistake, and referred to a January letter to Mr. Johnson from Paul Rodriguez, the acting counsel to the mayor, that he said provides a fulsome explanation of the incident. Mr. Johnson retorted, "We are going to do oversight in a fulsome manner." The presence of Mr. Carter, the city's lead lawyer, at the hearing was highly unusual, and Mr. Johnson and Mr. Torres pressed him to explain why he was there. He said he came because it was an important hearing. The authorities' heating problems came into sharp relief during a period of extremely cold weather in January, which Ms. Alatoy said was the longest stretch of days with temperatures below freezing in nearly 60 years. Many of the authorities' aged boilers failed and officials scrambled to restore heat. Mr. Torres said that there were 2,395 heat outages in calendar year 2017, compared to 1,360 the previous year. There were 4,112 hot water outages in 2017, compared to 916 in 2016. The residents who spoke at the start of the hearing told of sleeping in sweatpants and sweatshirts or getting up in the morning to put on a coat and huddle in front of stoves in frigid apartments. Carmen Quiñones, a tenant leader at the Frederick Douglass houses in Manhattan, referred to the deficit of funds and the surplus of incompetence at the authority. Calvin Drumgo, a tenant leader at the Briucolan houses, said, "We are not refugees, we are not third-class citizens, we will not be treated like savages." Several council members questioned Ms. Alatoy and other officials over the authority's computer systems and its ability to track the heating apparatus at its far-flung real estate. Under questioning by Mr. Johnson, authority officials revealed that maintenance logs for boilers were filled out by hand and the information was not entered into a computerized database, making it difficult to conduct an analysis of the effectiveness of maintenance and the performance of the system. "I would agree that our move toward technology is we have a lot more to do," Ms. Alatoy said. "This is madness. This is crazy in 2018. Mr. Johnson exclaimed. "This should be fixed immediately." The council members also forced Ms. Alatoy and other officials to acknowledge the decrease in the number of boiler maintenance workers, to 248 at the end of last year, from 391 in 2013. The workers are paid an average of $49,835 a year and stay on the job for an average of 3 years, the officials said. Last week, Mr. de Blasio proposed spending $82 million to install replacement boilers at 10 housing developments, but the money must be approved by the council. At an unrelated news conference at the police headquarters to discuss crime statistics, Mr. de Blasio was asked whether people who live in public housing deserve the same standard of living as people in private housing. "People in public housing deserve the very best living standard we can give them with the money we have," Mr. de Blasio said, stressing the deep financial challenges of the housing authority. "Do I think that we in the public sector can achieve everything that a private sector can achieve, with much greater resources in the private sector? No, I don't have that illusion. Our job is to constantly do better with what we have."